Why do gay men ghost? Hey guys, Michael Pizzullo here, psychotherapist in West Hollywood. So if you're dating or if you've dated before, one of the worst experiences that people can have, gay men can have, is being ghosted. You know, you're dating someone or even maybe even seeing them and things seem to be going well and it stops abruptly with no communication. It is really, painful, uncomfortable. People feel rejected, abandoned, all sorts of things. But I think most importantly, people feel confused about what has happened. So as a therapist, I want to break down 4 reasons why I think gay men ghost each other so that you can understand the psychology behind it, and that most importantly, that you don't blame yourself. So the first one I would say is that gay men who ghost are avoidant of emotional discomfort, meaning that, typically in a breakup, if you're mature about things, you'll have some sort of uncomfortable conversation. But some people just completely avoid emotional discomfort, particularly if it's something that elicits guilt on their part. They just avoid it altogether. Most people, I think, the decency of wanting to be right by the other person and, not leave them hanging will kind of override their avoidance of guilt. But some people are so guilt avoidant that they will give themselves permission to just avoid confrontation altogether because they just don't want to deal with it. That's the most obvious and the first one I would say. The second one I would say really is our dating app culture in the gay community. And what I mean by that is that because there's so many options and because you can swipe through them with so much ease, I think it has made people feel like other people are disposable, that they're just a, box on a screen, or they're just a picture, or they're just another profile. It can kind of dehumanize people. And as a result, I think it can give people permission to treat each other unfavorably. I don't think that excuses it. I still think that it's still, it's wrong to, abruptly just ditch someone without any kind of saying anything whatsoever. But I do think that our app culture and our dating culture does play into treating people more disposably, and that feeling as though there's more of like an implicit permission to do so. The third one, and I would say this is probably the most important, is that gay men who ghost are passive aggressive. And the passive part is key, but really there is an aggression there. Meaning that when you ghost someone, it is an act of aggression. There is an intention to cause harm, to hurt the other person's feelings. And there's also that you're gonna hurt their feelings, right? And the way of doing it isn't direct. So it's not directly like insulting or, stealing something or doing something directly harmful. There's a passivity to it, but don't be fooled. People that are ghosting are clearly harboring a lot of internalized aggression that they don't know what to do with. And so it's coming out in a passive way, but it's definitely there. I would argue that they're probably much more aggressive and wrestling with more internalized anger than someone who is just pretty direct and upfront about how they're feeling about things. I think it takes a lot of internalized anger and rage to express yourself in such a harsh but passive way. So don't be fooled that if, people try to let themselves off the hook and say that they're just a gentle person and they didn't know how to use their words or whatever. That may be true to a certain degree, but I do think there is a real aggression lurking in the person who ghosts others. So that's one thing to just really keep in mind, even if it feels like they're a gentle, kind person. And then the last thing I would say, and this is just sort of general context, is I do feel like, most gay men grew up without modeling healthy relationships and dealing with conflict in relationships. So they're less practiced in expressing themselves directly. Things aren't going the way I want them to. I have this need, you have that need. I don't know how I'm feeling about this. They've been more practiced in holding things in, repressing their feelings. And so when they do get into a relationship and start dating, they often don't know how to have these uncomfortable conversations because they're just not used to it. Again, I don't think that's an excuse, but I do think it gives some context as to why we might see more of this in the gay community, for example. So those are 4 things to consider. Again, it's not an excuse. I think that ghosting is wrong, unless of course there's some sort of like violent or, worrisome situation, you have to just cut and run. But otherwise, I do think that it is an unkind thing to do. So I'm not here to let people off the hook that have ghosted you, but I think it's important to think about the psychology behind them, what may have led them to do this, and really ultimately to know that it's not you. You didn't make them ghost you. They made a choice to avoid communication and to leave you with a whole host of uncomfortable and negative feelings, which is an unkind thing to do, and it's wrong, in my opinion. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. So in this video, I went over, 4 reasons why I think that gay men ghost each other. In the next one, I'm gonna go over how to handle it if you've been ghosted and you're processing that and what to do. But for now, I just wanna separate out thinking of the psychology of the person who has done the ghosting, just to give you some understanding and things to reflect on. So let me know, as always, your thoughts in the comments. Please subscribe to my video if you want more information about gay men, relationships, dating, and so on and so forth. And if you want to talk to me directly about working with me as a coach or a therapist, you can check out my booking link in the description, and I will see you all in the next one. Thanks, guys.